What's up? What's going on, y'all? It's another beautiful Wednesday afternoon. Another episode of Chill with Chill. What's up, Big Chill? How you doing?
In effect, B. In effect, playoffs is going on. Feeling good today, man. Really feeling good today. I definitely feeling the playoffs. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. So
Feeling great today. I mean, you Fluent and Haley, y'all kicked it off amazing this morning with a great episode. It was a goated episode. I hope everybody caught up with that.
Big Ox, that was dope, yo. That was,
It
man.
was.
That was really dope, man. I really enjoyed that. I was looking forward to talking to. I was looking forward to talking to the ladies. For those of you who don't know, who haven't checked in yet, Fluent and Chill with Playmaker Haley. We had Dr. O'Neill on this morning with Dr. Carter. That's both Shaq and Vince Carter's mother. We had those two on this morning, and we talked for about 45 minutes. We had a real good conversation this morning. We did. We had a real good conversation, and I got enlightened about a lot of things, man. A lot of things I got enlightened about, and I left that conversation feeling really good. I told Ox earlier today that I felt like I was sitting down having breakfast with my grandmother, and she just put some good energy on me, and I just left the house feeling real good after that. And that's kind of what went on this morning when we were talking to those two ladies. That was dope. That was awesome. Yeah, that was definitely dope. 100%.
Kind of to get this kicked off a little bit. I wanted to dive a little deeper into this. We spoke on it briefly with the panel.
Yeah.
I want to kind of talk about JJ Redick, his qualifications, and if you feel like he should be getting these interviews so early, and kind of what does that mean? Like just the fact that they called him, they call him in for interview. What does that mean? Are we digging too deep into it, or?
I don't think we digging too deep into it, to be honest with you. I think that they see something, but in the process of them seeing something, I don't just mean Toronto, because they are being transparent. Because in addition to interviewing JJ Redick, they also interviewed Becky Hammond too. So I mean, they are being transparent. But with that being said, I'd like to hear of Adrian Griffin getting interviewed. I'd like to hear Sam Cassell getting an interview for that job. These are guys who've been on other teams' bench for quite a while, and they have plenty of coaching experience. And for a guy like JJ Redick to get an interview, I mean, it's what it suggests to me is that one person that when you go to an interview, you suited and booted and you got all the qualifications. There's that one person that you look at and thinking, what are you doing here exactly?
Yeah.
Do you know somebody? How did you get in? How did you get in here? Because she's clearly qualified for the job. He's clearly qualified for the job. I'm qualified for the job. You, on the other hand, how did you get in here? Do you know somebody? Do you have some family? And once again, when you're talking about success, I mean, nepotism is absolutely a part of that. It's who you know. We're talking about family and such. But with a guy like JJ Redick, who not only does he not have any coaching experience, he doesn't have any experience in anybody's front office on any level. So the idea that he gets in the door, again, that says to me, somebody. You have to have known somebody. Otherwise, there's no reason for you to be sitting here. Because again, she's qualified for this job. He's qualified for this job. I'm qualified for this job. You, on the other hand, your resume isn't nearly what our resumes are. So what are you doing here? Why are you here exactly?
I did hear a solid list of names. So it wasn't just him. I heard about. I was listening to the NBA radio just a moment ago on my way back from a meeting. And they listed off about 15, 16 names. I believe Jerry Stackhouse was on that list. Sam Cassell was definitely. I heard Sam Cassell's name definitely. Yep. I want to say even our assistant coach in Sacramento. Man, I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember his name, but Becky Hammond, of course, was on that list. So, and I also brought it up a little earlier, and I wanted to see what you had to think about it. Maybe is it possible that they're maybe not actually interviewing him for a head coaching job? Maybe they're just trying to fill him out, see if they can put him somewhere in their office or something.
Well, if that's true, then if that's true, then do that. Then don't waste time bringing him in for an interview when you know that you don't want to hire him for this specific position. You can bring other people in that you are interested in. Now, if you're interested in JJ Redick, maybe for the future, that's something different. Like, let's check this dude's temperature to see where he is, because getting interviews on any level, don't get me wrong, getting interviews on any level is good for the future. Like, I know what to expect. I know what they're looking for, so I know what to work on. You know, Juwan Howard is a prime example of that. Before he got the Michigan job, he was getting interviewed. He was on the Miami Heat's bench. But again, with him being on the Miami Heat's bench, he was also experienced in that. So it wasn't a situation where they were just fishing for guys. Like you just mentioned, Jerry Stackhouse. Jerry Stackhouse got experience. Jerry Stackhouse has experience on the Toronto Raptors G League bench. Jerry Stackhouse is a head coach in a major Division I league. So there's experience there. That's on the resume. For a guy like JJ Redick, to bring him in for interview experience, I think it's good, but it looks bad simply because he doesn't have that other stuff on the resume that those other guys have. I think that's where the issue lies.
Right. Well, I'm not too sure how that's going to go. I'm more than positive they're not going to hire JJ Redick for that job.
I would be really surprised, Big Ox, if they hire JJ Redick. Really surprised, considering the candidates that are available. I'd be really surprised if they did that.
Right. Let me had something else to go. Let's get into this super chat real quick. Let's knock it out. As you all know, super chats run this show. If you got anything to say, anything you need to, any questions, want to know something, just drop one in there. Pimp named Slickback. Love the show as usual, brothers. A lot of buzz going around social media about blue collar brothers. Young fellas, I was a bus driver in New York for 30 years. Helped me get 2 homes. Don't knock the trades.
Hey, let me tell you something. And Big Ox will tell you this. He knows how I feel about the dirty work guy. He knows that for every LeBron James, for every Magic Johnson, for every Michael Jordan, we don't know who these guys are if Horace Grant ain't around. We don't know who these guys are. We don't know who these guys are if AC Green isn't around. We don't know who the Miami Heat are not winning any of those championships as good as Dwayne Wade was, as good as LeBron James, as good as Chris Bosh was. If they don't have Udonis Haslem, they're not winning any of those championships. That's not happening. That is just not happening.
Yeah, keep that super chat up for a couple of minutes.
That's not happening. So dirty work guys or blue collar guys, 100% are the engine that makes this society go, especially in pro basketball. Because it's good, like I said, as good as LeBron James is, as good as Jordan is, as good as Magic was, as good as Steph Curry, as good as all of these guys are, if you don't have those dirty work guys, we're not going anywhere. Because at the end of the day, we need those guys not just to do the other stuff, to do the other stuff that's necessary. The job you don't want to do, he'll do it.
Right.
The job that you can't do, he'll do it. And not only will he do it, he'll do it with efficiency. He'll do it great. And it's going to get us where we're trying to go. So prime example with a pimp named Slickback. So we're talking about a bus driver. How many of you in here needed to get on a bus to go somewhere? And without him, you're not getting where you're trying to go. You're not getting to that job interview. You're not getting to the barbershop to get a haircut. You're not getting to that party where you met your wife, right? You're not getting to that job interview. You're not getting there without him. You need him. He's necessary. So to look side-eyed at him or to look down on him, 100% you out of line for that. Let me tell you something. I drove a bus. I did it for 2.5 years. So I know exactly what it's like.
Right. Make the world go round. Let me see. I got one more from my man Sports PSP. How great of a coach was Chuck Daly?
Chuck Daly was a great coach because Chuck Daly was diplomatic. Chuck Daly had the Barack Obama attitude, and that was, I'm willing to listen and gather all information. Whatever you got, bring it to the table. Let us know what you got going on. And if you got better ideas, let's hear it. But if you don't, and if you're here to criticize, sit down and be quiet and let me do my job. So, for example, Chuck Daly, he didn't understand how the pick and roll was ran. So he needed to understand that. So how did he understand that? He got with Isaiah Thomas. He got with Bill Laimbeer. He got with guys that, show me how they run this so I can understand it. Now, you can understand it from a coaching aspect or from your assistant coaches, but I can't really dig it unless I actually get on the floor and watch my guys do it. And they understand, especially if they already understand it. So you show me which spot is the best spot if you coming out this pick and pop, Bill. If you coming off the pick and pop, are you good here 17 feet or are you good here 19 feet? Are you better dive into the basket? And once you start getting that understanding, you become better at it. So Chuck Daly was a diplomat, and Chuck Daly was a mastermind too. Yeah. So he knew how to get the most out of players. Because a lot of times, to be honest with you, Big Ox, sometimes you got coaches that put their arms around guys. You got coaches who will scream at guys. Chuck Daly was a mixture of both. Chuck Daly was the guy who would tell Big Ox, "Hey, Big Ox, listen, man, I know how you feel about Milwaukee. Don't make me leave you out here. So I need rebounds. I know you don't like Milwaukee. So don't make me leave you out here tonight. Because I know some people in the Milwaukee front office, and they ain't got they don't got a lot of nightlife out here. No, so you're gonna get on your job when you hear that.
Yeah, I ain't staying in Milwaukee. First, it's too cold.
No, good.
Sports PSP followed up with Chuck Daly was also a father figure for Rodman.
Once again, you need that, yo. You need a guy who is gonna tell you what you need to hear, but also put their arm around you and help you to get where you're trying to go too. It can't just always be ass kicking. It can't just be that, but it also can't just be rubbing your back and you're doing great. No, it's got to be a mixture of both. And Chuck Daly was that. 100%.
I know I coached a couple teams with LeBron before. We got our training program during the summer as well.
Yep.
And sometimes he got to talk to me like, man, you gonna run him into the dirt. I'm like, you know what, you're right. Let me take a step back.
Right.
Aunt Angie Carr tapped in with one. Shake my head. Watching Rose ride Pond instead of checking into the game to possibly give the Knicks some much needed energy is crazy.
Angie, what I wonder about Derrick Rose is, can he still play? I mean, don't get me wrong. He's been in the league now since 2008. So we talking 15 years. So with that being said, how much does he have? You have teams that have vets on the unit to show you how to be a pro, but they don't really give you much. Can a guy like Derrick Rose, can he still play? Does he still have anything? And if he does, then Tibbs having him in Chicago, why wouldn't he play him? If he thought he could still play, why wouldn't he play him? If he thought Derrick Rose could help him, why wouldn't he play him?
Yeah. I'm thinking the same thing, Chill. I don't think D Rose got anything left in the tank because, like you're saying, Tibbs will play him if he could.
It would be an indictment on me, Big Ox, if he was over there and he could still do something, or he could still give me some real good minutes, and I just let him rot over there. Well, wait a minute. Why is he not playing if he still has the goods? At least some of them.
Yeah. I don't know. Tyson Thomas. Is there a logical explanation for the level of play of role players, road home games, besides rest and routine?
There is no other explanation except that. Now, understand that when you got a routine, not only when you have a routine, when you have your family there, when you're used to the way things go in that building, when you home, you comfortable there. Now, when you got guys like Jamal Crawford, you got guys like Lou Williams, you got guys like Vinnie Johnson, rotation players who were damn good, whose game traveled. They didn't need that routine, so to speak, to help them. Like, I'm nice anywhere. I've always been a firm believer that if you're better than me, you should be able to whoop me anywhere. Doesn't make a difference. And my game is the same as if I can play like this at home, I should be able to do it in your building too. That shouldn't affect me, but it does. Some guys, it's different sleeping in your bed than it is sleeping in a hotel. It's different eating food that somebody else prepared for you at your house as opposed to, I got to eat hotel food. I got to get on a plane. My routine is all off. And I got different people yelling at me now as opposed to people supporting me. And I don't really thrive that much in that kind of environment as opposed to when I'm at home and there's people supporting me more. So that's another explanation for you.
Yeah, and on top of that, sometimes people just react differently. Like how you were saying, the road game. Some people get charged up by the other team's fans harassing them, as opposed to to have their own fans supporting them.
Yep.
We got another one from FIFA Boy. OG. Dirk is one of my favorite players of all time. Can you make a legitimate argument of having Dirk over KG all time?
No, I
Thank
can't.
you.
No, I cannot. I can't. Because on the defensive side of the basketball, that's where the separator is with KG. The defensive side of the basketball, KG's ability to defend, KG's ability to rebound, really changed the landscape of the game. Dirk's ability to score on all three levels was fantastic. But what KG did when he had another scorer around him, when he had a facilitator around him who was elite, how much more he affected the game as a rebounder, as a defender, and as a scorer as well. I think that's where the separator is. I can't make a legitimate argument for Dirk over KG. I can't do it.
I can't see a way to do it. Neither do I want to. Okay. Well, let's grab a couple of these guys in the lobby. Let's see what's going on out here. See what type of questions they got. Guns, what's up, man? KB, you there?
Yo, what up?
KB, are you with us? Okay, just kick it for a second. Brizzy, what's going on, man? You there?
Yeah, man, just enjoying the show.
Right on.
One of my favorite part of the shows is listening to Chilltown answer these questions, man. He be spot on with his shit, man. Shout out to Chilltown.
What up, brother? What's going on with you, bro?
Chillin', man. So what up, Big Ox? I watched that podcast earlier with you and Fluent, man. That shit was fire.
You was feeling that?
Yeah, listening to Mrs. O'Neal and Vince Carter moms. I seen she said something about the book. I'm definitely gonna get the book. Because Vince Carter, he played for the Nets, so I definitely want to see what he said about the Nets. And then I'm gonna come to you, Chill, after I read it. But I kind of had a question for you and Ox. It's more all right. So I did my research, and when in research, I found out that the Nets had 22 different general managers, and with that, doesn't sound like it favors us. So when I looked at it from time standpoint, it was like every 3 seasons they got a new GM. The longest they had a GM was the 12th GM and Willis Reed, and he seems to be the best GM for the Nets thus far. He drafted Derek Coleman, he drafted Kenny Anderson, and he was part of the trade that got Drazen Petrovic to the Nets. So I got a 2-part question. One question is, based on what you've seen thus far and what I've said about Willis Reed as a GM, is it possible that Sean Marks can ever be the best GM that the Nets had? And what do you think? I had a lot to say, but I'm just saying this because I know it's a lot of people in the lobby. And far as that's concerned, the window for a GM, how much time do you give a GM to work or not work?
Well, 2 things. Number one, with the pass and the Drazen Petrovic, that really set y'all back because they was on their way to doing something special. With both Derek Coleman and Drazen Petrovic, Kenny Anderson, they were on their way to doing something special with that group. And when Petrovic passed away, that set you guys back. Now, when you're talking about a general manager, I think that the window is when we start winning and we're on our way to winning and we're on our way to doing something special. I think that window is until we stop that. That's when we have to go in a different direction. A prime example would be Jerry Krause. So when you get Jerry Krause with the Chicago Bulls, the Chicago Bulls are basically Houston today, right? That's who they are. They're the Detroit Pistons. And he builds that unit up from the bottom, right? And just so you know, he didn't draft Jordan. Jordan was not his guy. He drafted everybody else. He gets Charles Oakley in the 2nd round. He gets Scottie Pippen. He gets Horace Grant in the 1st round, both of those guys. He gets B.J. Armstrong. He trades for Bill Cartwright. He gets Stacey King. He picks up Livingston in free agency, right? He picks up these guys, and now this thing is turning into what he always thought it would. He always thought this would turn into something. Same thing like Paxson. Nobody was particularly interested in John Paxson. He signed John Paxson in free agency. So now we building this thing. So you hold on to that for as long as you possibly can. There's no reason to get rid of him if he's making good moves in order for us to get to where we're going. Now, if you got a GM that's just doing bonehead moves, so to speak, there's a reason why we have this kind of turnover. And I think that's largely due to, in the front office, you're not doing your homework on these GMs. Like you have to do your homework on a GM to see what kind of guy you have and listen to his vision. I don't think Marks did a terrible job, but I think he could have done a better job. I do think he did a great job in getting back what you lost. I will tell you that. But to answer your question, as long as we're winning, as long as we're winning and we building something and we're on the right pace, I don't think that there's any reason to get rid of a GM. I think you hold on to him for as long as that's going on.
Nah, I agree with you, and thank you. And I just wanted to say you were spot on about what you said about Petrovic, because I seen an interview with, or rather heard an interview with Kenny Anderson, and he said the same exact thing. He said when Drazen passed away, everything it kind of crumbled after that. Like he was like the spirit of the team. You know what I'm saying? Like he meant that much to the ball club and the fans. So
just remember, with Kenny Anderson and Petrovic, Kenny Anderson had made the All-Star team that next year. So him and Petrovic, who was basically becoming what everybody thought he was going to become, he was never going to get any playing time in Portland. He's playing behind Drex. Danny Ainge was up there, so he wasn't going to get any run up there. But him and Kenny Anderson in the backcourt, they was turning into something serious. They were.
Well, nah, thanks for that, Chill. I always got more to say, but I see the point.
100%, no doubt. What's up, brother?
Dead serious.
Hey, I actually kind of wanted to come up here just because it's been kind of a topic that I think that's been thrown around a lot when it comes down to this like Warriors-Lakers matchup. That people keep crying about the refs being in favor of the Lakers and whatnot. You keep hearing that nonsense. So like, I actually took time over the last few days to like go through each and every single game that they've played this entire season, just to look at these calls that they keep getting favored. And there is some validity to it in the regular season, but that's not being applied to the playoffs, in my opinion. Yes, they still have, I think they're like the second highest free throw team right now. But I think Fluent touched on it last episode yesterday in regards to it, that, does also state that, yes, the Lakers are the highest free throw attempt team in the league this season at 26.6 per game on average. And yes, their opponent does have the lowest shooting free throw attempts in the league at, I think it's like 20.6. But when it comes to the playoffs in this Warriors series, going into the playoffs, the Warriors did have the lowest shooting free throw attempts. And that's because they're taking way more threes. So, and yes, once LeBron James did, I guess it went public on after that Celtics game, there was a major shift as far as calls go, because prior to that, I think it was about 16 games prior to that where the Lakers did shoot less free throws than their opponents. But then at that point, I think there was like 30 plus games, just a little over 30 games left at the season. At that point, there was only 3 times that they did not shoot more free throws than their opponent, and 1 time that they tied their opponent.
Right.
After that, though, it's going into the playoffs, and things just completely changed. Where the first 2 games, even of the Memphis series, where they did go split, they tied free throws. So it has nothing to do with, this free throws taking over the Lakers. I'm hoping Golden State wins, but I'm tired of people just saying that that's the only reason, because it is starting to get ridiculous to say that they're just not playing them and the Warriors are just not making shots.
Well, again, it sounds like the narrative is exactly that, the narrative, because what you just mentioned, we talking about a team who's been consistent all year, only 3 times the entire season a team had shot more free throws than them. So we're talking about a team that gets to the rim. We're talking
the crying session,
right? We talking about a team in Los Angeles that gets to the rim. We're talking about a team that not only gets to the rim, we're talking about a team that gets to the stripe, and they get to the stripe because they got a big guy and they got another guy that goes downhill in James. So they get to the free throw line. On the other hand, you got the Golden State Warriors who don't get to the rim that much, and they don't get fouled on the long ball line nearly as much, or in jump shooting areas nearly as much as they would going downhill. So it's not like the free throw discrepancy is that big a deal considering how they play. Now, if you're a jump shooting team, you do get to the line 100%. But if you're playing against a team with a big guy that plays a lot around the rim and you don't, you're probably not going to get to the line more than they do. That's just not the way it's going to go. They're probably going to get to the free throw line more than you. So either you have two choices. You got to change your game up and play more in the paint and stop doing dumb things like getting technical fouls, which also give up more free throws. You got to stop doing stuff like that. Yeah, that stuff like that does make sense. So,
but yeah, that was just kind of the one thing that I kept hearing this as being a narrative for the series, and I'm just like, I'm getting sick about it, and I'm someone who, I don't like LeBron James mostly because of his ridiculous fan base, and it's one of those things where I'm like, look, people need to stop crying about this because the Warriors are losing it because they're not making shots, and it has nothing to do with the refs. I mean, you could maybe count one or two calls, but most of these games have been pretty much blowouts by the end of it anyway. So you're affecting one game, if that.
Fair. That is fair. When you look at what happened in Game 4 as a prime example, they basically shut the door on the Warriors in the second half. Defensively, they shut the door on the Warriors in the second half.
And the very last few possessions of that game were just completely mistakes on Golden State. Like Green throwing the ball away, driving in, throwing it to the guy that's being guarded by LeBron James.
Right.
And Curry getting the ball and just randomly throwing over his head out of bounds. It's like these were dumb mistakes that cost you the game. It had nothing to do with refs causing this game to be the way that it was.
Right.
So the Warriors they're underperforming for what they should be.
I don't really bother too much with referee logic. Me and Ox go back and forth with this, but I don't really bother too much with referee logic because at the end of the day, you still have a job to do. And refs, like I said, I used to officiate, and one of the things that I would make clear: nobody bought a ticket to see me. You are the show, so you're going to involve me in the show. How much? That's up to you. That is up to you. So. Again, the Golden State Warriors, I think the way that they play, not only the way they play, the misdirection that they have, not the misdirection that they cause, but the misdirection that they have has a lot to do with why they are in the position that they're in.
Yeah, because, it's just one of those things where, you look at these games and it's, they're chucking up like 50 threes in a game, the shooting percentage. Like I think most of the shooting percentages are even under 35, maybe even closer to 30%.
Yeah,
and more even under that.
And I think that's a lot to do with the switching that they get on the perimeter. So, for example, watching Klay Thompson getting the shots that he was getting. So when they get in the short corner where they try that dribble handoff, it looks to me like with Austin Reeves on the top side, and it looks like whether it's Vando or whether it's D'Angelo, they're basically trapping Klay Thompson and giving him a little bit of space to get a shot off. And I think that's affected his shot, as opposed to when they have those dribble handoffs with him and Draymond, or they had those dribble handoffs with him and Steph Curry, where he has a little bit more room with other teams, with other teams. And they're not doing that in that short corner area. They basically trapping him and giving him a little bit of space and forcing him into tough shots.
Yeah, and I think that they actually, I know there's been that talk about like Jordan Poole's contract and everything like that. How he's getting paid a lot for how he's especially underperforming in the playoffs. And I think it's actually something that I think the Golden State Warriors could probably capitalize on, where they can kind of say that, hey, this guy is, and he's in these short bursts throughout the season, he's showing you he could be the man. So maybe we'll give you him. You can give us, I don't know, probably like maybe a better big, or maybe like
I proposed to trade the Big Ox. I proposed to trade the Big Ox earlier today, where I said I'll give you Jordan Poole and Wiggins, hand over Jaylen Brown. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Like y'all two are thinking about it right now. Big Ox hung up on me. He wouldn't even listen to it. He was like, nope. Big Ox hung up on me.
Yeah, not for Jaylen Brown. Maybe you go. Yeah, if I'm Boston, that's a no way. You could throw two first rounds in there. I might start thinking about it, but it's not happening.
I would say that yes, because you could. Yeah, I could see Boston saying no, just because I think Poole's kind of a liability, especially if you're trying to go for a chip. If this always performing in the playoffs. I'm not doing a what if on that squad since we're trying to go for now. But for the future, I mean, if you could get him and kind of cut down some of the turnovers, dumb mistakes, and make him maybe a bit of a better playmaker with that,
right?
You could be getting some gold out of him.
Right on. All right, well, before you go though, Desto, appreciate you, Guns. I'm gonna move around, move you down, grab somebody else up. Appreciate your takes though, brother. All right, have a good one.
Good talk to you.
All right, go ahead.
What up?
Desto.
Oh, what up? Salute, fellas. Salute, Ox. Salute,
What
OG. Appreciate y'all having me on.
Absolutely, brother.
I just came on. I don't know if y'all touched on this or not, but I had got a notification about that they're gonna release all NBA teams and am I there?
I thought it was I thought it was tomorrow night. I didn't know it was tonight. So it is tonight. I thought it was tomorrow night.
We actually about to get into that, Desto. If you want to talk about the all NBA?
Yeah, y'all can get into it.
Well, not yet, because that was the segment we was gonna get into. But if you're interested in it, we can do it with you up here. Might as well get a little more input. So, well, are you trying to? I wanted to talk about All NBA and something in particular about the All NBA.
I think he wants to talk about the All NBA team. I think that's what you wanted to talk. That's what Desto wanted to talk about. Get it off, Desto. What you got?
Yeah, so I was just about to ask, what do they? Because I don't know, over the years when I started to really watch basketball more, learn about it, the NBA, I started to not value the All NBA teams as much, and I want to know y'all opinions on those, because when I look at, for instance, yesterday, all defense, it's the same thing. How did Jaden McDaniels not make the all defensive team?
Right.
And I think that was pretty insane to me. It had great defenders on there, no doubt, but when I watched this dude this season, he was the best perimeter defender. And okay, of course, AD didn't make it because of the games played. But then I look and I see Paul George. He got votes for all defense, and he played the same amount of games as AD. So I just want to know how
Leaf,
much.
would you chill out, man? Get your blood pressure down, Leaf, and relax, man. Damn, chill out, yo.
I want to ask y'all, how much do y'all actually value these All NBA teams? Because I know the players value it because it means bonuses. It means they make extra money. Because I was looking at something today. It said if Jason Tatum makes it, he can sign a $300 million contract next year. And the same with Jaylen Brown. If he makes it, he can sign a $300 million contract this summer. So I want to know how much should we, as because people who like to debate and compare players, how much should we actually value that? Because it's starting to become less and less valuable to me in conversations.
I take being an all pro very seriously. Being an all league defender, being an all NBA performer, I take that stuff very seriously. I don't look beyond it like it's nothing. Well, one of the things about being an all pro that's been consistent. So for example, first team all pros, winning matters. What I mean when I say winning matters, Anthony Davis, since the decade that I was born, is the only guy to make first team all pro, and his team didn't make the playoffs. He's the only guy since the decade that I was born. Pistol Pete and those guys was the last guys to do that. So if you make it, if you're an all pro, first team in particular, winning matters, right? You're not making an all pro team first team if you're not winning. Now, when you get later down to the second and third team, then you got guys who maybe they didn't make the playoffs, or maybe they got stuff like that. But or your team wasn't winning, stuff like that. Now that's where that is. But if you're a first team all pro, meaning you are one of the best players in the game on one of the best teams in the game. That's and again, anybody that knows me knows I take being an all pro very seriously. Now, with the all league defensive team, I take that very seriously too. When you look at the all defensive team yesterday, I was surprised about that simply because I'm looking at Alex Caruso and I'm thinking to myself, Alex Caruso was a rotation player. The last rotation player to not just make the all-league defensive team. I mean, Dennis Rodman won Defensive Player of the Year, and he was a rotation player. So I'm thinking to myself, this dude is first team all defense.
I love Alex Caruso, but
awesome. But he's only averaging 23 minutes a game. So you barely playing half the games, and you a first team all-league defender. Where are we going with that? So no Mikal Bridges, no Marcus Smart, no Herb Jones, no Jaden McDaniels. I was trying to figure out what the logic was on that. That one got me a little bit perplexed. I didn't get that.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know. I just feel like.
Hold on, desktop. Yo, Leaf, you about to blow up, bro. What's up? You got a problem with the all NBA all defense teams or something?
I thought that whole entire all defensive team, outside of maybe a couple of names, was downright disgusting. I almost went to the bathroom when I seen it on y'all channel, and I almost vomited. That's how disgusting it was, man. And to get on Chilltown's point, by the way, that was a good show you did earlier. That was a beautiful show, brother. To get on that point, to not see, I was under the assumption that Nick Claxton was making at least one of them teams. I was under the assumption that Mikal, and I'm not just caping for it just because it's in Brooklyn. It was a couple of people missing from that. Jaden McDaniels, I think he was all world defensively. When I go back and look at and I'm looking at Caruso, I wasn't mad. I was just mad. I'm like, wait a minute, this is first team.
First team.
And I said, and I looked at it. I had to screenshot it. I was like, yo, I gotta be high. It's something.
You wasn't bugging out. You was not bugging out. You was not.
And I'm just thinking to myself, man. I'm like, the level of disgust that I was on that was just, it was just through the roof.
I think that.
Oh no. Go ahead.
I think what they're trying to sell is the value of this guy. So, for example, Alex Caruso, in the time that he was on the floor, Alex Caruso, one of the best on-ball defenders in the game. I could get with that logic, 100%. He one of the best on-ball defenders. So, in valuing him being an all-ball defender, in the time that he was on the floor and what he did, so maybe he played more fourth quarter minutes than a lot of those guys. Maybe he played in closer games and came up with bigger stops. Right. Maybe he played in closer games and came up with bigger stops. So just because you're playing a lot doesn't necessarily mean that you're more valuable as a defender. But with that being said, when I look at guys like Herb Jones, I'm thinking to myself, if Herb Jones played only 22 minutes, or if Mikal Bridges only played 24 minutes and he only played the middle of the third quarter and 10 minutes in the fourth, how awesome would he be?
Yeah. You know what, Chilltown? And you've been a Herb Jones guy from this time that I first started watching this. And I was just like, yo, Herb Jones, I was on the side with you about the Pelicans. We had some Pelicans conversations. And I said Herb Jones was going to be at least first or second team all defense.
Right.
And I'm looking at it, and I had to think to myself, I'm looking at Alex Caruso. I'm trying to think, because the internet will show you anything. What was the least amount of minutes for first team all defender for all defender? That might be closer to it. You said he was 23 minutes a game.
23 and a half minutes. You barely playing half the game. Barely.
Yeah,
he's barely playing half the game. Barely.
And
after,
you know,
All-Star break, he started like the end of the season, to like the after All-Star break. So he
only started half the. He played 67 games. He barely started half. I think he started a little bit more than half the games.
Yeah, and that was at the second half of the season. For the first half of the season, it was mainly Ayo Dosunmu and Patrick Williams. I think that was starters along with their big three. So yeah, he was off the bench majority of the season. So like after All-Star break. So
something else that I thought about with these all NBA teams and all defensive teams, whatever. I thought about Klay Thompson the year that he didn't get on when he was up for money. And you know who else I thought of on Chilltown? Donovan Mitchell, who you said when they were on when Utah was at the top of the West, he didn't get not one nod for no all NBA team, not first, not second, or third.
Did you guys know that?
Y'all knew that.
I think that was the year Kemba Walker made it, and he didn't make it.
No. Listen to what he just said. When's the last time a guy on a Western Conference team that was in first place, their leading scorer, their second leading assist man, and their third leading rebounder, not only did he not make first team All NBA, he didn't make second team All NBA. He didn't make any of the All NBA teams. When does that ever happen?
I mean, this is a bigger issue with the NBA media in general. I mean, we've seen in the past, narratives play a huge factor into these roles. I mean, I was just reading this chat while I was waiting. They bring up the most famous example. Marcus All won Defensive Player of the Year. And that year, he made second team All Defense. second, the defensive player there is second team all defense. And I'm looking
that's happened before.
Don't forget about Tyson Chandler too.
That's happened before.
Yep.
That's happened before. Mm-hmm.
And then you have a lot of
the thing is,
right. I know it doesn't make sense, does it?
Yeah.
That's like
hold on. Let's stay there. Let's stay there. Let's not jump around no more. Let's dive a little deeper into this. You brought it up, Desto. Mm-hmm. Let's go all the way in. Jaylen Brown can sign a 5-year, $295 million contract, $295 million contract if he makes an all-team this year.
Wait. If he stays, or
if he stay in Boston, he's eligible for the Super Bowl.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
$295 million.
If he doesn't qualify, he can next offseason he'll be an unrestricted free agent.
Oh no, Boston ain't doing that.
Jason Tatum, if he makes a team this year, next year he'll be eligible to sign a 5-year, $315 million contract. John Morant will be up for a 5-year, $233 million contract. I believe John Morant's swing is the biggest on making it and not making it.
I need some money.
John Morant signed his contract last year, but if he makes
he already got his extension.
So what I want to ask y'all is that how it should be? Is there too much power in the people that are voting for these teams? Because there's a lot of money at stake. Y'all just brought to light what happened with Donovan Mitchell.
Right.
So we're missing out on a lot of money if we're not making some of these teams. The media people that are in control of making these lists, do they have too much power in their hands?
I strongly believe so, because it's a lot of it's some media people that been on the fence about who they not voting for on how they have votes, and they quick to turn that out. And to be clear about it, I could honestly say that it's probably people in the media definitely pushing agendas for sure. And I don't like to talk on business up in here. I don't, and I promise y'all too, I wasn't gonna talk on business. But the that JJ Redick thing that y'all was talking about him getting the coaching job, a lot of this is about who you know. A lot of this is about like who you're around. And
wait, are you saying that like being an All NBA performer, that could contribute to who I know and who I'm in good with?
It could. If you say it has nothing to do with it, man, then I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, yo, come on, you've been around for a long time, now, and with the media way it is now, it has to.
Yeah,
it has to. You might have thumped your nose at an interviewer or somebody that's on TV and didn't give him an interview. You might have thumped your nose at somebody that didn't trying to give you the time of day, and they just so happen to be a voter. That one vote could swing out of your direction, and guess what? 50 mil just got taken away from you just like that.
Yeah, because I think, and he make complete sense, because like when you vote, it can be like first team, second team, third team. But let's just say this, like you obviously a first team type guy, but like this certain player don't want to. I mean, a certain media member prefer you be like a third team for whatever reason, for whatever personal reason, or maybe he favors a guy in the organization that he works for, works near, something like that. And then that can swing you because it goes by like points, like the voting and everything. Right. So it that can swing so much. I bring up a perfect example. I was telling my friend the other day how I thought this would have been the perfect year for Jokic to win MVP. Not last year when he was 6th seed, but this year when he was a 1st seed. And for whatever reason, Kendrick Perkins, he day to day, he went from Giannis to Embiid. He would not. He made it a point he would not vote for Jokic for MVP, and I think that was just wrong, because even if you thought Embiid was playing better or Giannis was playing better, he said Jokic already won too, and I don't think that's fair at all. I feel like you should just judge them how they play basketball. Don't go based off these narratives. Don't go based off like things of that nature. And I think that's a perfect example right there. Like, for example, I think Paulo Banchero should have been unanimously Rookie of the Year, and some guy who works for Utah, I forgot the network or whatever, but he voted for Walker Kessler. Walker Kessler, he was a good rookie, great rim protector, but come on. Like
and played half the season, by the way.
And Paolo should have, of course, been unanimously the rookie of the year. Like,
right?
So, but since you work for Utah, you're gonna sway the voting. So I don't think. Yeah, I definitely think the media has a lot of power. I think something has to be done about that because when I look back at history and I look at basketball history a lot, the All NBA teams, they kind of tell me, it used to tell me this was the best players at this position in this season. But now it's like that's not the case. So you have to go back. You have to actually watch. You have to see what was going on. You got to see why they voted for this guy. What was the narrative and all that. And I don't think that's right.
I think it just started like that too. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was just about to say. I mean, in the past, even this year, I mean, we've had guys straight out come out and say, I have a bias against this player. I mean, you brought up Kendrick Perkins. I mean, he had that wild take that the MVP voting is racist, right? That people are voting for Jokic because he's white. That stupid take. But I mean, outside of a couple of guys, how many people actually give a valid reason for the MVP? How many people, or like any of these awards, how many people actually give like a proper breakdown of what their thought process is? I mean, and you guys brought it up, narratives, right? A lot of these guys, they don't give concrete reasoning. They just go off what narratives are and what generalities they speak of. And that impacts contracts. I mean, these incentives are worth tens of millions of dollars, right? And so maybe, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but maybe the media, they want to get a player out of the market. They don't want a player to get a certain contract. Don't vote him all NBA. Don't vote him all defense. So you have to take that into consideration too.
Well, here's the problem with that. The problem with that is that the collective bargaining agreement, they do that specifically to keep guys on their unit. So the NBA has something where if I've been with the San Antonio Spurs for the last 7 years. And I've been with the San Antonio Spurs for the last 7 years, and I end up making an all-league. I end up making an all-NBA team. I'm an all-pro. Whether I'm a first, second, or third team performer, I'm an all-pro. Because of that, that's an extra $30 million that I get. And that incentive is to keep me on my crew so I don't end up with Phoenix. I don't end up in Golden State. I don't end up in New York. So that's the incentive to do that. However, when we have biases like you mentioned, I think that we should get these guys exposed. Those votes should be taken away. Those votes need to be taken away from these guys, and we need to get some people in here with some objectivity. So a guy like Kendrick Perkins, who is a 5-man who favors the big man. So he made it clear. I remember him saying this, quote, Joel Embiid didn't play against Denver and when they went to Denver. And he said, quote, as an MVP voter, I'm going to remember this, end quote. He said that. So because of that, when you have stuff like that, that's the media that we're dealing with. When the all league team was going on, when I was you guys' age, when I was a little bit older, I knew Karl Malone, I knew Michael Jordan, I knew Jabbar, I knew that these guys, when they were all NBA, they were deserving of it. There was no question about it. This dude should be on the all NBA team, and I understood why they were on the all NBA team. When I see guys like Alex Caruso as an all league defender, first team, I'm scratching my head thinking, okay, well, I know the criteria somehow has changed, but how so?
Right.
I mean, yeah, just think about it. How many people are actually watching Bulls basketball this year? How many people are actually watching
outside of Chicago?
Exactly.
Outside of Chicago.
Let's talk about OG Anunoby. How many people are actually watching Toronto Raptors basketball? How many people are actually focusing on Anunoby? So, like, this is all just they're basing off generalities when they're putting their votes in.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to add to that, I think it's a lot more. The advanced metrics and everything make it a little bit more easier to vote for defense, especially specifically for defensive players. But you hopped on something the other day, Chilltown, bro. You value the numbers, blocks, steals.
I care about that. I care about production. I care about what you produce. I care about that.
Yeah, the production. Back then, you had dudes averaging like 4 or 5 blocks a game.
Right.
You know, like the Mutombos, the Elijah ones, Mark Eatons, those guys.
I care about that.
Yeah, and when you look at their competition, you'll see like one year you'll see Mark Eaton and let's see, Mark Olajuwon.
Right.
But you know, somebody got to be number one. Somebody going to be number two.
Right.
You'll see Hakeem and David Robinson. Somebody got to be number one. Same thing. Ewing and Shaq. Somebody got to be number one and number two. But you knew that they was going to be up there.
Right.
You knew for a fact whether what team it was, no matter what team it was, it's up there. Now we at the stage where it's like, with everything that's involved, specifically with defense, with everything that's involved, with all the win shares and what was the
defensive win shares?
Yeah, defensive win shares, the
defensive plus minus, defensive rating,
shot contest percentage,
all the advanced tools and advanced analytics that's being used to judge defensive players and shit. It should make it easier for you to tell who's who and who's not.
Right.
A little bit. and I'm trying to think to myself in 23 minutes. That's what you just said. Alex Caruso is giving you high octane defensive percentage and defensive percentage numbers in 23 minutes.
Take it a step further. Take it a step further than that, Leaf. See, with Alex Caruso being the first,
chill on Caruso, Leaf. He a former Laker. So
here's the thing, though. This is the thing that's going to blow his top now. This is the thing that's going to blow Leaf's top because now he's a first-team All-League defender. You know what that means? That means we got to start talking about him like we talk about Jordan. We got to start talking about him like we talk about Sidney Moncrief. We got to start talking about we got to start talking about him like we talk about Gary Payton.
Don't do this.
I know you don't want to hear it. I know you don't want to hear it.
You need to hear this. You need to hear this.
We got to start talking about him like we talk about Joe Dumars. We got to start hearing like we talk about Alvin Robinson. We got to start talking about him like we talk about Kobe Bryant because we're talking about a first-team All-League defender. Because what I want you to do, Leaf, this is what I want you to do, Leaf. I want you to fast forward the clock 25 years, 30 years when you around my age and somebody tell you, yo, Alex Caruso is a first-team All-League defender. He's as good as Kobe Bryant as a defender. And you're going to want to run him over with your car. This is the kind of narrative that it creates, though. I'm just saying. When you do stuff like that, this is the kind of narrative that it creates.
Disclaimer, I'm already old. I'm 35. I ain't that far removed from everybody else. I don't represent all the little minions that represent player establishment. I'm anti-establishment. You know that. That's one. Two, I'm already focused on how and everything about for me is not about if you got it or not. It's how you got it.
Right.
It's all about how you got it for me, man. So I can't rep. So if I'm repping 23 minutes a game in first team, and you say don't boil over, you saying leave calm down? You want me to calm down? That's what you want me to do?
First team All-League defender.
Focus on your breathing,
like I said, Leaf, we gotta start talking about him like we talk about Joe Dumars. We gotta start talking about him. I'm just saying.
You've been around a long time.
Chill does have a point.
You've been around a long time. You know better than me.
And the reason why I'm saying this is because, again, I'm thinking about in 20 years from now what the narrative is going to be when people look back on this and they go, and when they talk about great defensive players and they bring up guys, damn, Alex Caruso was first team all defense in 2023. So now they're gonna start looking at him and going, was he as good as Joe Dumars as a defender? He was just as good as Tony Allen as a defender because Tony Allen was the first team. And you're gonna be like, wait a minute, man. See, but this is the kind of narrative that stuff like this creates, yo.
That just goes back to my question: is how much should we value these selections when we go back to debating players? That's all I was thinking about.
Chill tell you when you hold on, Leaf. Chill tell you when you answer that question from Desto. After that, fellas, I do gotta remove you and get moving. Hold on, Leaf. Let Chill answer Desto's question, bro. And we're gonna have to get back to that on Saturday.
Real quick. So real quick, how do I value that? I still do value it. I just got to go back and do my homework. Because I don't just take off the table the fact that you were an all-league defender or you were an all-NBA performer, and I just go, okay, you up there with them. Wait a minute. Let me go see how you were an all-NBA performer. Let me go see how you were an all-league defender. Let's remember, Dennis Rodman never led the league one time in rebounds. In steals or blocks. Not one time did he ever do that. But Dennis Rodman, as a rebounder, as a defender, I had to go back because I was around during that time watching him defend. I'm watching this dude as a defender, seeing what he brought to that unit. I'm like, that's one of the best defenders in the game right there, 100%.
And another thing, this is why you cannot eliminate the goddamn eye test when it comes to these parts of the game.
It matters.
It matters.
It does matter.
You got to look and see who can get it in on defense. Bobby, I love you. Chilltown.
Alex Caruso and Tony Allen, they both the same as a defender.
Caruso.
You go live with that, man. I'm hurting you. You go live with that.
Alex Caruso and Joe Dumars the same as defenders.
That's wow.
We all know that ain't true. We all know that, but That's the kind of logic that it's going to be, yo. I'm telling you.
Hey, everybody that's already been up, if you in the lobby, I'm gonna remove you from the lobby, y'all. Don't jump back in, bro, because y'all gonna keep it packed. You make it hard for everybody else to get up. So when I remove y'all just please respect that. Yeah, but that's crazy. Hey, Chill, you want to get into that a little bit more, or did you already kind of speak your piece on the All NBA and the implications of making All NBA teams and what's that mean specifically right now? The ones that I'm aware of is Jalen, John, Jason. I'm sure there's a lot more cassettes that's on the brink, but those three are the ones that I'm aware of right now. Are you aware of anybody else?
I'm not aware of anybody else right now in terms of contract implications, but I do know that this stuff matters. Being an all-pro, and not just in a contract year, neither, Big Ox. It doesn't just matter in a contract year. We got a guy like Draymond Green, who was an all-league defender. That matters in his contract. That may be an extra $500,000. That might be an extra bonus if I make the All-NBA team, which is a big deal. So, I understand the implications of guys making the All-NBA team and what it could mean in the future. But I also thought that the NBA did a good job in keeping players on their respective teams simply because parity throughout the league in terms of talent keeps the league fresh and it keeps the viewer interested. If Big Ox, you in San Antonio, and we know that the New York Knicks could pay more. We know that the Washington Wizards or the Los Angeles Lakers could pay more. If we don't incentivize this, we know that your track is up in 2 years.
Right.
And we're probably going to lose you simply because you're going to go to a bigger market.
Yeah.
So we have to do something as an organization with the NBA to incentivize the fact that we want Big Ox to stay in San Antonio. We want Big Ox to stay in Atlanta. And how do we do that? I'll tell you what, Big Ox, you've been there for 3 years. If you make the All-NBA team, that's another $30 million on top of what you're already making. Plus, that team that you play for, you're eligible now for a Supermax contract, and they can pay you the most of anybody. I mean, these things matter. 100% they do.
That sounds beautiful. Extra 30 mil.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get back into some more of these super chats real quick.
Yep.
We got one from YSN Money. OG, how did you start? How'd you get started with TikTok?
My best friend to this day, his name's Roderick. I wasn't a social media guy at all. No Facebook, no Instagram, no Snapchat. I'm not interested in none of that stuff. So my best friend, he's like, yo, you need to get involved with this TikTok. My kids love it. Man, I don't want to do that. That's kids stuff. Let me get out of here with that. Yo, listen to him. I'm telling you. So one day I just got on it and I was scrolling through and I was just seeing what it was. And there was this guy talking about how Michael Jordan, the 1985-86 Bulls, Jordan had help with Orlando Woolridge. And I was thinking, wait a minute, that's not true. No, he did not. And I learned how to stitch a video. And I stitched the video with information about how he did not have help when he was running around with Sam Vincent and not Sam Vincent, I'm sorry. He was running around with oh my God, Dave Corzine and John Paxson and Troy Brown, guys like that who they weren't useless, no question about that, but this team wasn't very good. So no, he did not. Well, the next thing I know is then I get questions about, well, how good was Jordan back then? I start talking about how good Jordan was. How good was this guy? Next thing I know, this thing snowballs into I'm answering questions, and then that turns into talking to people, which now turns into I'm now the voice of old school basketball, and here I am.
Well, it sounds like it certainly happened organically. So, that seems like it's meant to be.
Just like that.
Kind of follow up for YSN. How do you like it now? Like, I was always like that too. I was never on, social media like that, big behind the camera. But I personally, I'm enjoying this. Like,
yeah.
And I'm not on your level. I'm just saying, like, for what you've been going through with it. How has it been?
It was wild, to be honest with you, because to get comments, I mean, you get comments from the trolls and you get comments from people saying goofy stuff. But for people telling me that, you know, you're an inspiration and getting stopped on the street. Hey, you the dude from TikTok. I'm like, you know me? Really? So, but I'm not one of these people that get wrapped up in fandom and fame. And nah, I don't take myself that seriously. Nah, I don't. I ain't that dude.
Okay. We got another one from Derek Washington. Is Miami Heat Bron the most athletic player of all time?
I don't think James was more athletic in 2013 than he was in 2009. I don't think he was more athletic in 2013 than he was in 2016. You know, when you talk about athletic players, I mean, how much more athletic did you get? How much more athletic do you get than Wilt Chamberlain? I mean, how much more athletic do you get than Russell Westbrook? So, you know, guys like that get up and down the floor. I mean, Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, there's a reason why. There's a reason why you can't shoot the ball over the top of the backboard. The reason why you can't shoot the ball over the top of the backboard because Wilt could touch the top of the glass Wilt could touch the top of the glass. You know, he could touch the top of the backboard. So they had to take that out. You know, there's a reason why you got to stand behind the free throw line to shoot free throws. You got to stand behind the free throw line to shoot free throws because Wilt could dunk the ball from the free throw line without running. So when you're doing stuff like that in terms of an athlete, I mean, I don't think it gets much better than that. So was Bron the most athletic in 2013? No, I don't think so.
That's crazy. Just to hear all the stuff you hear about Wilt. YSN Money with another one. Appreciate you, YSN. Chill. In you and Ox Peaks, what NBA team right now can you fit into? Your peak, Chantel. What's the team? What's the team for you right now?
That I could be on?
Yeah, what team like would you best fit? Like
that I could help?
Best fit? Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Your play style, kind of like maybe like what team plays your style?
Like I said, I was more of I'm a big Drew Holiday fan, I'm a big Marcus Smart fan, and I would be like in that mold. So I think I would be a rotation player and I'd be able to help a team like the Knicks. Think of like Grimes. That's me. Like I could do that. Guys like Grimes, guys like that, like Grimes with the Knicks. I could probably do that.
Yeah, I would say I would fit into the Sacramento Kings. No, but really, I would say any team because I mean, hey, the bench feels the same on every team in the NBA.
Yeah, it does.
I would feel great on every single team, chilling on that pine.
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does.
Let me see. Great question, though, YSN. That's hilarious. Let me see. Okay, from Abel Shaw, or Abel Shaw, I'm sorry. Chilltown. Why did you pick the Knicks to win this series? Because I don't see how they can win now. Hopefully they can push it to 6.
I picked the Knicks in this series because of what I saw them do to the best defensive team in the game, which is the Cleveland Cavaliers. They basically out-toughed them. Everything that I thought Cleveland would do to them, they did to Cleveland. Shut the door on Donovan Mitchell. Basically controlled the front line with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. And just handled those dudes. So I'm looking at this Miami Heat team who I don't think is nearly as good defensively. So I thought they were going to do the same thing to them. There was no reason to believe that they wouldn't do the same thing to them, and they didn't.
Facts. I'm still shocked from that Cleveland series.
Yeah, but they didn't.
I don't know if you remember. I had that one. I think I had Cleveland in 6 in that one.
I had Cleveland in a 6-game dogfight.
Yeah, they came and took care of business though.
Yep.
Donovan Samuels. Is Darvin Ham out coaching Kerr, or do you think it's just a personal issue with the Warriors? Appreciate y'all's daily grind on producing good NBA content. Salute. Appreciate you, Donovan.
It's interesting you mentioned that, Donovan, with the personnel with the Warriors, because I mentioned this earlier. I think in the 4 games that they've played in this series, 3 of them, Steve Kerr has had different starting lineups. So he's trying to figure out exactly which lineup to go with. Meanwhile, with the Lakers, so I got Russell, Austin Reeves, Vando, James, Anthony Davis. This is my crew, and I got a rotation. I got a rotation of who does he have in his when he rolls out his rotation? He rolls out his rotation. He goes 8 or 9. He goes 8 or 9 deep. He got Dennis Schroeder. He now has Lonnie Walker in his rotation, which is good. He has Wyndon Gabriel in his rotation, which I don't love that, but okay. He has Winston. He has Gabriel in his rotation, but they already have it set where they are. And I think that what he's doing with his group, this is who we are. This is how we play. We're going to defend. We're going to rebound. We're going to keep the pace the way we want to keep it. I think that's the most important thing that Darvin Ham is doing. So it might be a case of him out coaching Steve Kerr because he's not getting wrapped up in a lot of different type of moves. So if Steph comes off the floor, Vandy comes off the floor. Steph comes back on the floor, Vandy comes back on the floor. Who am I thinking about? If Walker comes off the floor, if Walker comes off the floor, or if Poole comes off the floor, Walker comes off. So he's basically trying to match everything that he's doing. And I think he's doing a good job at that. I do. And it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt that, you got James and you got Anthony Davis playing the way that they've been playing. That doesn't hurt.
We got another one from my man Sports PSP. Chill. Do you think Shaq underachieved?
Yeah. There's a part of me, and I had this conversation with him that, yeah, I do think that there was, as awesome as he was, and we're talking about a guy who did everything that he could possibly do. He did everything that could possibly be done. But the fact that, Shaq never led the league in rebounding, not one time. Shaq never led the league in blocks, not one time. As a big man to be that dominant, for him never to do that one time is pretty significant. And if he would have been a little bit more in tune with himself, he would have been. I've said this to him before. He would have been the best. Like, we wouldn't be having this conversation about Jordan. We wouldn't be having this conversation about Jabbar or none of these dudes. He would have been the best player ever, and it would not be a question. We wouldn't be having this conversation. 100%.
I'm shocked that he never led the league in rebounding.
Not one time.
That's a shock to me. Angie Carr. Chill and Ox mainstream. Light the beam/belt. Light it. Yeah, Angie's a legend. Let's get into a little bit of tonight. Mm-hmm. We could do last night, but let's leave the past in the past. We know we got limited time. Let's get on into it. Mm-hmm. So, first game is going to be Miami and New York. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that. It's 3-1. Both are 3-1 games. Mm-hmm. Real quick, are both of these closeout games? Or is this the end of these games, these series, or what's going to happen?
I think Miami. I think that they handle the Knicks. To be honest with you, if Jimmy Butler played in game 2, they wouldn't be back in Madison Square Garden. This series would already be over.
This was supposed to be a sweep.
I wholeheartedly, if Jimmy Butler would have played in game 2, they're not back in New York City. This series would already be over 100%. And
what's going on?
With that being said, the Miami Heat have shown the one thing that the Knicks have not done, and the one thing that the Knicks have not done, which you can't turn on this late in the series. You can't start playing harder. You either are who you are at this point of the series. We're in game 5 now, so these guys can't now say, okay, we're gonna play as hard as these guys, or we're gonna play harder than these guys. No, the Miami Heat have already set the stage for who they are, and they've out-toughed the Knicks. They've outplayed the Knicks. They've outworked the Knicks. They've gotten better production from their bench. They've gotten better production from their rotation guys, and because of that, Jimmy Butler, being the player that he is, playing within the flow of the offense, I think they handled it. I think they handled the Knicks tonight. I think the series is over.
OG said how you always say it. Pit it with the Lupe from Chicago. If you are who you say you are,
show it to us.
Have no fear. Have no fear.
Camera's on.
I agree. Can I just add? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jalen.
I don't know. I was going to tap into the next guy. I agree with Chill Town too, in the sense of I think Jimmy Butler and the Heat definitely close out this game. I think the Lakers Golden State game is going to be interesting because I think if the Lakers, obviously Golden State's going to give it everything they got, do or die game. But I think if they pull out to a 10, 14, 15 point lead and it's the third quarter, and about 6-7 minutes left, I think the Lakers might just shut it down and save LeBron in 80 minutes.
No, I don't think they're doing that.
I think so. Because the past couple games, the minutes, they played a lot of high minutes. So I think strategically they might they might let this game go and just try to take it home in game 6.
But Jay, you got to think about this. The Warriors this is the defending championship team. They can get hot at any time. This type of team that you don't want to get them any type of life, because this is also a team who's seen that coming back from a 3-1 is possible. They done did it before, and they've been on the bad end of that before. This is the type of team you got to get them out of there. Because when I watch Warriors games, I don't think, even if they down 10 with 3 minutes left, 2 minutes left, the game is not over until it's over with that team. You have to, the Lakers would be more beneficial to go in Golden State and get them up out of there. You'll get your rest on the back end.
Like what they did to Memphis, like Jalen, what they did to Memphis, when they did the Memphis where they had like a 30-point lead by the end of the second half type, that's what y'all need to do. Like, y'all need to play like that. Get them out of there early. But real quick, let me just talk about the Knicks. I agree with you guys, but still, like I said, we got the last game. We got one more game. I still got faith that we could probably pull it out. Regardless of what, I still got to believe as a Knicks fan. But real quick, I just wanted to ask you, if the Knicks were to add, let's say, with free agency, let's say one of these 3 players, let's say Torrey Craig, Nazir Reed, or Herbert Jones, will you think that would help us out with our current roster? And then I got who would you draft?
Ooh, I love Herb Jones with the Knicks.
I don't think they're letting Herb Jones go. I think Herb Jones
plus we got Randall. And then this is also a reach. I was thinking about if we get Herb Jones on the Knicks, we could trade Toppin, and I know this is crazy, RJ Barrett. I know this is crazy. For
Randall got to go, Cowboy.
Either the rights to Cam or to Claxton. That way we can help out our download with the power with the rebounds.
I just don't think those players are available. Like, I don't think Herb.
No, that's why I said to the right to Claxton, because it's to the Nets. But if we trade Toppin and let's say RJ Barrett to sweeten the deal, we can go ahead and get the rights. Look,
everybody is available. There's nobody that's not available.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. If we're gonna do it,
100%. Just so you know, the Milwaukee Bucks got new owners. They don't know Giannis. They need to find it. They need to find out who Giannis is, what the plan is for the future. Because if they already let that coach go, if Giannis isn't invested in that crew, Giannis could be on the block.
I mean, if he doesn't sign an extension,
that sounds good.
He could very well be on the block. And with that being said, that Knicks team,
Brown is not coming to New York. Brown is not coming to New York. Get it out your heads, because everybody was saying that earlier. Brown to New York. I was like, y'all crazy. But real quick, sorry. Do you want to I want to see who would you draft? You got the 2nd round pick. This is for all of you guys. You got the 2nd round pick, and these are the 2 top players. Player 1 is a 6'8", 210 small forward. Player 2 is 6'4", 225 shooting guard. Player 1 is better at rebounding, field goals, 3-point percentage, and free throw attempts. Player 2 is better at points, assists, and his lowest defensive rating is at the highest as player 1. So his lowest defensive rating is the highest that player 1 has get. Who would you draft? I have more stats if you want to get into. Yeah, you have no. You have the 2nd overall pick, and these 2 guys are available.
Mm-hmm. So one of them has got to be Scott, right? You talking about the guard, right?
Yeah, one of them is the guard, and another one's a small forward.
And why would the Knicks have the number 2 pick?
Yeah. No, it's not the Knicks. It's not the Knicks. This is just a random question for you guys to see how you.
It depends on what my team is. It really depends.
Like general manager, and you have these. These are the 2 top guys you got to get after, and they're like you got to pick one of them. Like one of them could be the next Jordan, or the next one could be the next Kobe. You know what I'm saying? But based off of these stats, who would you draft?
If I got a point guard that's an elite point guard, and that is 6'4" guy you talking about coming in, who's buckets and who's a lockdown defender. Could I pair him with this point? Could I pair him with this point guard and build my unit around these 2? I could absolutely do that. Now, this 6'8" guy who is a transition player who can score. Now, you talk about defensive rating. I mean, I care about defensive rating too. That matters to me. A lot of people, they have a tendency to disregard defensive rating. I care about defensive rating. That stuff matters to me. But if I'm building my unit, I'm not just going with the best player available. I'm going with what I need. If I already got a guy that's 6'8", that might not be able to score like him, but can defend, and I can make that up with these 2 guys in the backcourt, I'm building my unit around this backcourt right here. Kind of like what the Detroit Pistons did with Zeke and Joe Dumars.
Jalen, and what you think? And Bob, what y'all guys think?
I mean, yeah, it's just such a blanket statement. You know, I don't have to know my team. There's so many factors. They're just giving me two guys.
I can give you stats. I mean, if you want to go off of stats of their first 3
I know what you
years.
mean, but it's just I prefer like player comp, like blanket statements of a guy 6'11", averaging 25, 10 and 5. You know what I mean? Like those are. It's just too blanket for me to really kind of give you a good assessment. You know what I mean? But that's just my take on it.
My take on it just depends on what my team needs. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Like, you can't just say you got the second pick. Well, who am I? Am I the Rockets? I'm in a Rocket situation. Am I like in the Pelican situation? Am I the OKC Thunder? It just depends on my team. It depends on the team. Yeah.
I forget how.
If it's OKC, I don't care how good that guard is. We got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
100%. I would take the other guy. Yeah.
It was more just to see if you guys would just go off a comparison of.
Really? Hold on. Really? Because this other guy, he might be. If I'm getting Lou Dort, except the scorer, except the better scorer, I'm moving Shai to the 1, and I'm moving on from Lou Dort. I'm doing that. If I'm getting Lou Dort except a better scorer, I'm moving Shai to the 1 as a primary.
So you're getting arguably one
which
of the
he is
top
anyway.
But you get a great wing who's a scorer, but you already got Lou Dort. That's a great defender.
Jalen Williams there too.
You can have a big lineup with Shai because they got a lot of tall guys over there in OKC too.
Well, think about this for a second. Think about a guy like Jaden McDaniels. How big is Jaden McDaniels?
6'8".
Yeah. And now where'd you find Jaden McDaniels?
The second round pick.
Yeah, so with that being said, go do your homework. You could go find a Jaden McDaniels. Don't get me wrong. Sure. Jaden McDaniels is a gem. Is a gem, but that's why you're the general manager. That's why you get paid what you get paid. You could go find Jaden McDaniels. You could go find Scottie Pippen. You could go find Herb Jones if you do your homework. If I got a guy that's a 2 guard, that's a bucket, not only is he a bucket, but he also locks down, and he's what I got right here. What I already got right here, except a better version of that and a scorer, and I could build my unit around these two, I'm going with that.
Okay, but the player comparison that I had in mind, player 1 is Jason Tatum, player 2 is Anthony Edwards.
I'm just going to take Jason Tatum there in that situation.
I was just about to say, so think about that for a second. So in Oklahoma City, would you rather Shai and Anthony Edwards in the backcourt or Shai and Jason Tatum?
I love Shai.
That's why I say the names first.
And I love Jason Tatum, but Shai and Anthony Edwards in the backcourt, and I'm building my unit around that.
I think Shai and Tatum complement each other a lot more.
The crazy part about
Shai and Anthony Edwards still, I think they both are still a little more ball dominant. I think Jason Tatum can play off the ball a little better. He can.
Anthony plays defense.
I think Ant-Man is just more ball dominant in the situation that he's in, and I think he would act if he was in a different situation besides Minnesota. He would definitely get way more credit than he deserves. Ant-Man has been balling. For the last
he will also go down and grab his own and get his own buckets. He don't need nobody to give him his buckets. He'll be like, okay, if I'm not working on offense, I'm gonna switch on defense. And then when his defense start going, he'll start going down underneath offensively and start getting them boards. He won't throw off Shai. He'll compliment Shai, especially on the defensive end, because Dort does that already. Like Chill said, it'll be a more offensive Dort. That'll be exactly what they need.
OG, this is why I can't ask the question about, because it's crazy how you guys talking about the Caruso. Shout out Caruso making all defensive first team. We're gonna ask how we got it.
He's a good defender. He's a good defender.
But this the point though, right? Because I got into an argument, and every time I go live about this, because I did a top tier list before the playoffs start, I put Donovan Mitchell ahead of Devin Booker. All of a sudden, Devin Booker just go bonkers in the playoffs. Yeah, SB, you wrong. I'm like, look, y'all don't put the regular season in context. Donovan Mitchell was by far the best shooting guard in the regular season. Then we go the same thing with Caruso, but I think this is like the double-edged sword that we have, right? So you'll get a guy like Caruso who plays less amount of minutes, but does put up the stats to show that he's great defensively, and people will question why did he get the award. But then also we see somebody perform in the playoffs, do great, then we'll forget about the regular season. I think do you think the NBA have a problem with contradicting themselves to make people disvalue the regular season, or it's just like people just get amnesia when the playoffs happen and with these awards?
That's exactly what's just happened. People get amnesia. That's why I do what I can to remind people that the regular season matters. That's where you get the league MVP. That's where you get to become an all NBA performer. That's where you get to become an all league defender. That's what that is based on. So when you get to the playoffs and the stakes are higher, but it's a shorter amount of time. So now all of a sudden the guy with the stakes higher in a shorter amount of time, he's better than this guy. Well, wait a minute. That's where the legend of you When you get to the playoffs, that's where it gets elevated. So this is what I was doing here. Now the stakes are higher. This is what I'm going to show you that I was. This is why I was that dude. When we get to the playoffs, this is why I'm going to show you that. So with the NBA, not the NBA, they do value the regular season, but a lot of people don't. And the reason why they don't, I think that because all we've done is push the narrative of championship.
Yes, exactly.
And I understand that part, but the reason why we talk about guys like Jordan, James, Jabbar, the reason why we talk about those guys were awesome in the regular season. They weren't good in the regular season. Jordan won the Defensive Player of the Year. That was in the regular season. And he got to the playoffs and he elevated that. James was the league MVP 4 times in 5 years. That was in the regular season. And he elevated that in the playoffs. That's the logic. Now, I understand that we don't talk about these guys like Jimmy Butler in the regular season. There's a reason why we don't talk about them like we talk about the all-time greats, because they didn't do that stuff in the regular season.
Right. To add on to that, I want to say, the 100% the regular season matter. You mentioned Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is not a superstar in the regular season. He's a star player who gives you 20, 7 and 2, but he's not this guy in the regular season. And again, I debate a lot of other sports too, baseball, hockey, all that. And I always say basketball is the only sport where we put so much emphasis on the playoffs. In baseball, it's a 162-game season. People understand that a 7-game series is such a small sample size. When someone's played 2-3 years and they put up numbers, they might have a series where they're bad, just like in the NBA. So especially in NBA circles where, like you said, ring culture, I think the over-evaluation of rings in a team sport, I think that's another conversation we can have. That is kind of, again, misleading us. Because next year, people might be like, Giannis ain't top 5. Giannis is not a top 5 player, which is
it's
crazy.
coming. It's coming. It's coming.
100%. So that's definitely one of the things. And to add on to what you were talking about earlier, the whole defensive, all defensive teams. I think the all defensive team has always been the most flawed award in the NBA in the sense that it's just so hard to judge it because it is the eye test that matters the most. Like the advanced metrics, blocks, steals. We understand how blocks and steals, they can help. 100% they help, especially when you're a big man, the blocks, they help. But like when we saw in the Warriors-Lakers series, when Curry's attacking the rim, he gets by his man, then he sees Anthony Davis, then he circles back around. Like that's not shown in the box score.
That matters. That matters. Yes, it does. It does matter.
It's so hard to to quantify it numerically. It's just so subjective because the eye test. I don't know if it will ever be so accurate. And I also want to say, a guy like Kobe Bryant, again, I think great player, but I also think he has the most first team all defensive teams that are not necessarily reward that he didn't deserve because of reputation. I think with all defensive team, once you're known as an all defensive guy for 3-4 seasons, you might get 3, 4, 5 more, even though you're not the same player you were defensively, just because of reputation. So that award's always fun. I think all defensive teams are fairly accurate in the sense that the offensive stats, counting stats are more, they're more accurate, right? So when the player puts up 30, 15, and 12, you're like, okay, he's probably going to be first team NBA. We get it. So there was that.
But Jalen, you shouldn't take anything away from Butler because if he's giving you normal, good, average stat, like real good all-star stats throughout the regular season, but then can kick it up a notch into the playoffs, that's the type of dude anybody would want because that's a level that's a rarity because he waits till then to kick it into that next gear that nobody else can do. Don't get me wrong. LeBron James is consistent. No, this is what I'm saying. Like, if you compare him to LeBron James is consistent in what he does. So we know what to expect. But when it comes to Jimmy, it's like, oh, is he going to go off hard this time or is he not because of this and that? Like, but that explosiveness, it's like, where did this come from? That's why
Cowboy, that logic right there makes me nuts. You know why? Because Jimmy Butler is the dude that gets B's and C's during the school year. Exactly. He'll get a 1,500 on the SAT. He'll get a 1,500 on the SAT. What are you doing?
Then that posed the question of like, okay, if Jimmy was halfway playing through the season coasting and they was an 8 seed, maybe you played a half as he did, we might have been a top 5 seed.
No. Even still, though, but what he's doing, think about it, it's strategic, it's test. He's allowing his team to learn to play within the system with the 82 games. He's doing enough to keep them in contention to allow the rest of the team to develop over those 82 games. That way, like Chill said, when it's playoff times, we ain't got to change nothing. We are ready in full mode. That's what I'm talking about. Like
Cowboy, that's nasty. We ain't doing that because Cowboy, that's nasty. Because the Heat didn't look good during this season. Because we Cowboy, that's nasty.
They almost didn't make the playoffs.
They almost didn't make the playoffs. Cowboy, they are shooting. Cowboy, they shooting way better than they did from the regular season.
Yeah, the
Let's not do that.
Jimmy's playing great, but that team is shooting threes like they never did throughout the season.
But it's a different mentality, is what I'm saying.
Where was this Kyle Lowry during the season? Where was this?
I need you to rest these games for 20 games.
They actually running plays for Gabe Vincent. Are you serious right now?
But that's what I'm saying.
We running plays for Gabe Vincent.
Max Strus?
Yup, he's a smart dude. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Max is not that guy. He's not
all
that
season, baby. I'm going to potential. I'm getting this out. He's a fan, man.
What you doing, K, bro?
Yeah.
I mean, fellas, I do got to get it moving. I got some more super chats to read.
Thank you guys for having me on.
One more thing real quick.
Good show. Mother's Day. Also, go New York, go New York, go.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be the last time you say that.
Chilton, what you said about Shaq earlier, I agree in the sense that, again, to me, I think there's no GOAT argument. If Shaq did what he needs to do, take care of his body, I think he would have been without a doubt the GOAT of GOATs over LeBron or Michael. But I always say, the reason why I think NBA fans we love Shaq is because he had all these other interests. He was that funny guy. He was doing the music. He was doing the movies. So I always say, for him to, if he had that Kobe work ethic, he probably would have had to sacrifice that other element of his life. And I don't know if he would have been as loved as we loved him now. You hear what I'm saying?
But he would have to I do. I understand that. But don't make no mistake about it. He still was fantastic.
Oh, he was still awesome. He's my 3. I think his peak is the third.
He was still awesome. It wasn't like he was. Yeah, he was good. He could have been way better. He was still awesome.
That's fine. Hey, and I'm watching the '92 playoffs. I'm in the second round now with Jordan. What you told me to watch? I'm in Game 5 versus the Knicks. First round, dude was insane. It was my 45 point. Dude was insane. Second round with the Knicks, he's playing the same. We might have to have that peak conversation. We're gonna have that peak conversation.
It gets better. Just hang on.
Take it easy, fellas.
Yeah.
All right, Jalen, appreciate you.
100%, brother. 100%. So
another great group. Man, we got a couple more super chats.
What we got?
Actually, no, we just have one more. I'm sorry, I didn't start this one. We got one from Daniel Smith. All the Celtics need to do is out-talent the Sixers. They have 2 All-NBA players, 3 Sixth Men of the Year, and a DPOY candidate.
Just because you got the best players does not mean you have the best team. That's not going to work, my man. No. Talent does not automatically – just because you have the most talent does not mean that you have the best team. And this Celtic team – they are more talented than the 76ers, sure. But what's going on with the 76ers right now, number one, James Harden played in between. You didn't get this guy or this guy. You got this guy, and that matters. Now, you also got guys that's playing really well within the system. And when you get a bunch of guys who are on the same page, that will trump a more talented unit, which is what happened yesterday. When I look at that unit that I saw with Philadelphia, they came in there like their lives depended on it. We can't go back to Philadelphia down 3-1. We all got to get on the same page, and we got to stay on the same page the entire night. And that's exactly what they did.
Let me ask you. So the way the playoffs are going right now, we got 3-1 LA, 3-2 Phoenix. 3-2 Denver. We got 3-1 Miami, and we got 3-2 Philly. So let's just assume all the teams that are leading the series. Let's assume that all of them win the series. So that'll make the Eastern Conference Finals will be Philly versus Miami. The Western Conference Finals will be LA versus Denver. If that's the way it's going, that's the way it goes. Chill. Who will be our NBA champion? Who will walk away with the Larry O'Brien trophy? People going to the East. Philly versus Miami, LA versus Denver.
So we got an NBA champion. So if the Lakers play Denver, I love that Lakers-Denver matchup. And the reason why I love that Lakers-Denver matchup is because I love Anthony Davis against Joker. I think that matchup is going to be so much better for Anthony Davis than this previous one, with him going up against DeAndre Ayton. And I think that the Lakers got a really good shot at beating Denver 100% if they were to get into that, if they were to get into the Western Conference Championship. Now, as far as the Philadelphia 76ers and Miami, I'm gonna keep it all the way 100 with you, Ox. Miami looking at Philly like we can beat them. We can beat them. They was looking. They may want another. They may want another shot at Boston simply because of what happened last year in the playoffs and the fact that they went 7 games and they like to redeem themselves. But they looking at Philly like we could beat them 100%. They look at Philly like they look at Milwaukee. We could beat them 100%. We can beat them with the crew we got right now. We could beat them 100%.
Would it manifest? I don't think so. I don't think it will manifest. I think Philly has and salute to you, Chill. What's going on, fellas? Ox, what's the word? I would have to push back on that. I think Philly has the confidence, and I feel like he would instill some confidence in the team and say, "Yo, we could do that." I don't think the shooters are consistent enough. I know they're explosive, but I don't think Miami has enough consistent shooting, and I think that Doc would be able to corral that shooting. And once the shooting goes away, Jimmy Butler's effectiveness gets diminished because now we're gonna throw bigger bodies at you, and we're definitely gonna have to they might put McDaniels in just to guard Jimmy instead of Tobias Harris, because I think if he looks at Tobias Harris, it's gonna be, you chose this guy over me. Is going to be barbecue chicken. So we don't want Tobias Harris. We don't want Tobias Harris on Jimmy Butler. That's not a go. But I think they will pull out Jalen McDaniels. I think they would funnel him. I think they would run like a zone, and they'll run like this amoeba zone. And I think would dare the shooters to shoot them out the gym. Now I think Miami will have some good games where they will shoot. They might shoot them out the gym, but I don't think it's going to be consistent enough. I don't think they have the horsepower to do so. And I think Embiid will eventually wear Bam down. I don't think Bam got nothing for Embiid. I think that's barbecue chicken for Embiid. I don't think Bam got nothing for him.
How consistent is we talking about if they beat Miami? I mean, they beat the Bucks. They about to beat the Knicks. Like, how consistent you talking about?
And not just beat them, served Milwaukee, served the Knicks, not just beat them.
Giannis missed a couple of games, granted, but I don't know how much of a difference Giannis make because Gabe Vincent and Strus was going crazy.
Agreed.
But how much stock we putting in Philly's role players? How much stock we putting in them and their consistency?
And supposed to
Phillies.
I have to listen. I'm gonna do this because we can't. I feel like Phillies players are getting a lot of disrespect. These guys were starters. Milton and Melton were both starters. So to say that they can't play, Gordon Niang was a key part in teams. So these are professional players versus Jimmy Butler and the G Leaguers. That he's the star of the show and he's running with it.
Production, brother. Production. Don't give me narrative. Give me production.
How long we gonna keep disrespecting the G League players?
You're right. Give me the production. Don't give me where they from. Give me where they at, bro. Don't give me where they from. Give me where they at.
Listen. This ain't the play-in. This is the second round. They one win away from the Eastern Conference Finals.
I'm with y'all. Listen.
Don't forget, and please don't forget. If I dropped him, and I dropped him, I'm looking at you like I could drop you too.
It's a different animal, though.
Why can't I drop you?
It's a different animal.
Not only did I drop him and dropped him, all of y'all in here didn't think I could drop him or drop him. I dropped both of these dudes in dramatic fashion. So with that being said, we also got in my corner. Don't forget, when I dropped them and I dropped these two dudes, I probably got the best corner man in the draft. I got the best corner man in the fight. So he's giving me the best information to drop both of these dudes. So when I get in front of this dude, I'm thinking to myself, I could drop him too.
And he got a bad knee. That's gonna come back up again.
So
that's not over. That is not over.
That's true too. That's true too.
Can I just give one pushback, and then we could I want to circle back. I just want to give one pushback to y'all fellas. I hear what you're saying. The production is there, and every time we have doubted the Miami Heat, they have definitely come. However, we have to say this: the one thing that I've said, the Milwaukee thing, I'll give Coach Bud is a bozo. You guys know how I feel about Coach Bud. He is a full bozo. Chill, you know this. We watched Jimmy Butler walk down Drew and no help. Single coverage, you're going to die like a cornerback, right? Okay, cool. Let's go now to the Knicks. Julius Randle said, and this is a very jarring statement. I'm curious about your opinion on it. Julius Randle, they asked him, said, he responded and said, yo, I think that they wanted it more. What? Julius, if you don't,
he just telling the truth.
But that's
but
that's
as a
definitely something
competitor,
you
you
could
say
have kept
that
to
in
yourself,
public.
though. You could have kept that to yourself.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Kept that
I'm
to
not
yourself.
hearing that from Joel Embiid as the best player, as the face of the franchise, because unfortunately he's the face of the franchise, right? I personally think Jalen Brunson has surpassed that, but people have been saying that Julius Randle has still remained the face of the franchise. I think Jalen Brunson has taken over the team, but that's another story, right? But as your best player, you saying that you don't feel like y'all wanted it enough? And the G Leaguers wanted it more than y'all. Now, granted, they do want it more than you, but how do you say that? I don't think.
Nah.
I ain't got a problem with it. I ain't got a problem with it. This what we want from players, right? You want players to be honest. You want players to come up there and not give you generic answers. Oh, blah blah blah, and read from a script. But then when they give you the truth, now you're on their head about it.
But
you can't. But this is the
you can't have it both ways.
You can't have your best. You can't have the best player.
This is the playoffs. This is not season.
Yeah, but the series ain't. How you not? How you know he not using that to motivate his guys though?
You can't have your.
How
best
you not
player.
knowing he?
What were you about to say? You can't have your best player. What?
Yeah. So my point.
Not you. Hold on. What was you about to say, fam? Your best player. What?
D-Reed.
What was you about to say? Your best player.
You can't have your best player putting that message out to the media. You can say that. You can say that in the locker room. Y'all don't want it. That's something you say to the locker room. You don't say that to the media.
Just so
I
you know,
disagree.
Just so you know, I watched the Los Angeles Lakers blow out the Boston Celtics in Game 3 of the NBA Finals in '84, and Bird went to the paper and said we played like a bunch of sissies tonight.
Facts.
They won 2 of the next. They won 3 of the next 4 games.
Exactly.
You know why they won 3 of the next 4 games? They won 3 of the next 4 games.
I understand that shit.
This generation.
That's exactly what I was saying.
This generation that we dealing with, you dudes are so sensitive. You saw that we played soft. They wanted it more than us. So you know what I'm taking that as when I come into the locker room? Oh, you think we soft? Let's go show it to them.
Let's turn it up. Exactly. The series ain't over.
But OG, let me say this. I feel you on that point. But when it's your best player saying that, and your best player is playing like trash, it's the difference. I understand what you're saying.
Yes.
We as a team play horrible. But you the best player on the team, and you're saying that, and you're playing the work. You got benched in one of these games.
You're the reason.
We losing right now. You can't say that. That's me. I feel what you're saying, OG. I understand it, but you can't be playing the way you're saying with a statement like that.
I'm the reason, but the stuff that I'm talking about, they wanted it more than us. It ain't the buckets. It's the dirty work. It's the 50-50 balls. It's the rebounding. It's the defense. That stuff is the stuff that they wanted more than us. That was the difference in the game. It wasn't just the fact that I wasn't that good as a scorer. The other stuff, the fact that we got our ass kicked on the backboard, the fact that they just got to more loose balls than us. That's the stuff where he's talking about. They wanted that stuff more than us. And when he says us, that includes me.
Himself.
That's not just that's not you. That's not just you guys. Me too. They wanted it more than us. And we gotta be
not them.
In the next
he didn't say they wanted it more than them. He said they wanted it more than us.
However, that includes me.
Yes.
Right.
So my thing, I just want to give a quick thought, and I want to continue because I don't want it to be stagnant on this one point because it's kind of like some semantics at this point, right? But my thing is, I agree with you 100%, OG. When I say I agree with you 100%, it should be the driving force to prove it. As a competitor, you don't want to hear that from your team, and you, of course, you're gonna be like, "Word, that's how you feel." Or maybe you might be saying that to say that. So let's just prove it. But however, like D-Reed, I just want to piggyback what D-Reed said. As a player, and on top of that, it's not like you're a guard. You are a big man. You can affect the hustle. Your energy can amplify to everybody else. On top of that, you not grabbing the boards that you're supposed to be getting. You not diving. You pouting.
That's why he said us. That's why he said us. For that reason right there. He said us.
I agree, but so I maybe it could be, in my opinion, it was just a poor choice of words at the timing. In my opinion, because
that's what I was about to ask you.
So that's
would it make you feel better if he would have said it make you feel better if he said they wanted it more than us. I got to do a better job in being more.
Yeah, you got to take accountability. You have to take accountability.
If he said that and involved himself specifically, would that have made you feel better?
That would, because what happens is that shows accountability for your gameplay as well, and you being the leader for your team. Because everybody knows that if your leader's ready to go and he's showing, because that's the D reset. If the leader's ready to go and he's showing 100% and 1,000% effort, he can't be on the chopping block. Because now we saw it on the court. He put it out all on the floor. And now when he makes that assessment, we can say, you know what? He did put it out on the floor. Maybe his teammates wasn't really riding with him. You get what I'm saying?
Context real quick, to be fair, you don't know what he said in that locker room before that.
Agreed.
You don't know what he talked to his guys. Right. So you judging it just off what the media said, but you didn't know what he said. Like, hey man, I played like shit tonight. I gotta pick it up, fellas, blah, blah, blah. And then came out there. You know what I'm saying? So you got to look at that point too.
Yeah,
I got a quick question, panel. So I've been watching, for a quick qualifier, I've been watching the NBA since Jamal Wilkes and the Lakers. Kareem is my GOAT, so I'm just trying to qualify the question. So when I ask you guys this question, if the Lakers win the championship this year, would this be the toughest road to the championship ever? Let me explain. In round one, they will beat the 2 seed. In round 2, they will beat a dynasty and break up the dynasty. A Hall of Famer as well. In round 3, if it's Denver, they will beat the defending MVP.
This number one seed.
Let me finish. And the number 1 seed. In round 4, if they play Philadelphia, they would also beat the current MVP. Now, I've been watching basketball for a long time. That's one part of the question. I know the Lakers never dealt with that. I'm a Laker fan. We've never done that before. Been on the road every single round. We're the road team. The Bulls never did it. The only 2 teams that I would say maybe can have an argument, 95 Houston came in as a 6 seed, but the problem was they were the defending champions the year before. So they already had that credential. In 2011, the Dallas Mavericks, they had to go through a tough road, but the problem was they were the home team 2 rounds. No one has been the road team and had no qualifiers the year before as a champion. And if that's the case, if you can look at it and be like, damn, you're right. How does that change LeBron James' legacy? Because all them other championships and everybody else got narratives and bubbles, and if Kawhi was injured, in this situation, motherfuckers can't say shit.
Talk. Go ahead.
Now, Toronto Raptors, he had a tough role, but he went in as the 2 seed, and they were the home team for 2 rounds. So I'm just trying to listen.
I'm gonna add more context to your statement. Don't forget that they started 2-10. Don't forget that they flipped the roster midway through the season. Like it's a lot going on, and if they able to pull this off,
may I?
Go ahead, OG.
So that logic that you just brought to the table about this year, that's pretty significant, man. You got a really good argument. However, let's rewind the clock back. Let's rewind the clock back to the 1995 Houston Rockets, who in the middle of the season trade Vernon Maxwell, and not only do they trade Vernon Maxwell, they also trade Otis Thorpe to Portland for Clyde Drexler. They go from the 4th seed to almost being out the playoffs.
Correct.
They finish under 500. Not only do they finish under 500, they are now the 6th seed. In the process of them being the 6th seed, in round 1, they have to see Malone and Stockton. Both of them 2 dudes finish in the top 10 in league MVP votes that year. That's number 1. Smoke them dudes. And by the way, they had to beat them on the road. They didn't beat them at home. They had to beat them on the road in the clincher. That's number 1. So then fast forward to the Phoenix Suns in the next round. Charles Barkley, not only is the number 2 seed, they were down 3-1. Came back to beat them dudes. Charles Barkley is number 6 in league MVP votes that year. Right? So then fast forward to the West Finals. Who's waiting for me?
San Antonio.
The league MVP is waiting for me.
David
That's
Robinson.
what I got to deal with. Smoke them dudes. David Robinson, I never see him get outplayed like that. Like I saw Olajuwon dominate him. So now I got this thing under control. No, I do not. You know why? Because who's waiting for me in the finals?
Young Orlando.
That 60-win Diesel team. And what do? Mop the floor with them dudes in 4 straight games. You want to talk about running to the championship? Man, you're going to have a difficult time getting a better run than that.
No. I got you on that. But once again,
good stuff, Chill. Good stuff.
In regards to the rounds, and you got to remember, Houston Rockets were considered a championship contender. This Lakers team, even going into the playoffs, have never been a championship contender until recently. So when I say that, it would be if at the end of the day, the only reason why Houston, I would say, would win this argument is if they played the Chicago Bulls in the championship and break up a dynasty. The Lakers will have to go through Golden State, who's been kicking ass over this decade. And not only that, they have been ripping and running, and they were the favorites to come out of the West. They were the favorites to come out of the West.
I would have to disagree with you just based on a couple things. The Grizzlies are they were crippled. You know,
that's what I was about to go there. I was just about to go there, bro. Talk about these Golden State Warriors too.
I'll listen to you. Give me.
That's nuance.
Give me a couple. It's not a nuance because you're talking about they beat the 2 seed. I understand they're the 2 seed, but that's like that does mean something. But I'm saying that team isn't as good as the teams that Chill was just talking about. That the Rockets went to. On top of that, you said
lost both their rim protectors. They got Tillman starting.
Yeah, you say this dynasty in the Warriors. Now,
that's facts, D-Reezy.
They are a dynasty. That's true. But this isn't the same Warriors team that it was. I know they're the defending champions, but I've had a couple of people come to me and say that they don't believe that they were even supposed to get out the first round last year if it wasn't for a depleted Nuggets team. So,
but
I don't believe on top of that. Now, this is a little biased, y'all. But we helping y'all out. We took these boys to 7.
I'm with you. Listen, I'm gonna say this 100%. All the Kings really needed was rim, and I've been saying this. You've heard me say this, Ox. All the Kings needed.
Stay focused.
Now, with that also being said, don't forget, my man, because you just brought up this Laker team. Now, LeBron James and Anthony Davis, are they healthy in these playoffs?
Yes, they are healthy.
Now, with them being healthy in these playoffs, when the last time those two guys were healthy, what happened?
They were up 2-1 against Phoenix.
Not only were they up 2-1 against Phoenix, but last time they were healthy.
Oh no, they weren't. When they went through the playoffs, they won. But this is what I'm saying.
Won the NBA championship. 100%.
But this is all I'm saying. Every single dynasty and every single team that I've seen, I have never witnessed a team except the Houston Rockets be the road team all the way through and to beat all of these different situations, from dynasty teams to former MVPs to current MVPs to all of that. At the end of the day, I got you talking about Memphis was hurt and all that. That's nuance. When we look at this 10 years down the road, we're gonna look and see them. They made it as a
because people are gonna forget about the lineup. Who was there? Who wasn't? That gets forgotten about a lot. We don't even got to go all the way back to the Rockets. I can just take it back to 2011. That run was far more impressive than this one.
No,
I agree with that.
Dallas was
come on, man.
Dallas weren't the underdog in every round. They weren't the underdog.
I don't know who was the underdog. That doesn't too much matter. I'm talking about who did they play against.
But how do you tell me? Wait a minute. So I got a question. Let me just hit you one last time, and I'm gonna let y'all talk. So if I go into the NCAA tournament and I'm the 12th seed, regardless of my role, and I win the damn championship, you gonna say this team was better because they had to play Georgetown? No, I had to struggle the whole damn way.
But you got to add context to it. Hold on, real quick. If you got to add, was their best player hurt most of the year? Is that why they was a 12 seed? Was they struggling with injuries all the way through and their best players came back? Did they get, 4 new players that helped that team halfway or towards the end of the season? All that stuff matters too, bro. You know what I'm saying? And you got to talk about the regression of Golden State, man. Look at Klay Thompson out there. He looked like a shell of himself. Draymond Green, these type of cats. How Poole is playing. I could see if they was whooping on the Warriors when they was up. They whooping on them when them cats is down, bro.
No. They down because what the Lakers are doing, dog. Come on. Klay
I don't want to hear that. No. Let's not do that. Let's not say, they're down and beating. No.
They get credit for winning, but I'm just saying.
We ain't doing that, Tyson. Not on this show. Not today.
Tyson, what's been the narrative around the Lakers all season, Tyson? What's been the narrative all season?
We ain't doing that. The Kings beat them. No.
We wasn't supposed to beat.
Drop a 50 ball.
Listen.
Fellas, hey, Reed. Wait, I get it off real quick because I got to be the bearer of bad news.
We getting good. We heating up, Box. We heating up.
Hey, Tyson, I'm 20 minutes over my time, bro.
Yeah. All right. We already the higher ups is in my ear.
I've literally gotten 4 text messages since.
I just wanted to get this one take off of Tyson. It's not even a take. I just want to ask Tyson, what's up with DeAndre Ayton? He got to be gone. I feel like what's the backup center name? Jack Linden.
Jacques Landale.
He's playing better than DeAndre Ayton.
CP3 and Ayton up out of there, bro. Pack them up.
Pack them up. Thank you, Tyson.
Please pack them up. Pack them up, chill.
Hold on, one second, context. Bottom right, FM. What's your name?
My name's Alfaru. Hey, guys, when y'all do this, I want to hear the panel, dog, because in my opinion, I ain't never seen this before. I like Houston, but they were the defending champs. I got that. I want to see you guys do a show on this, and I promise you, everybody going to come up with their own nuances and context. But,
hey, Chill. Can I ask you one question,
Chill? A beautiful breakdown, man. Can
I ask Chill one question before we get up off here? Because I've been thinking about it for a while. You know how we got certain players in the NBA now that have played for the same team, you know what I'm saying, that got, cut, traded, whatever, and came back. Has there ever been a coach that has got fired and came back to a team and coached the same team he got fired from?
Lakers had one.
Has that ever happened?
I think the Lakers had one. Didn't they fire
Yeah, Byron Scott. I think he came.
Byron Scott twice, right?
Yeah. I think Byron Scott.
So Byron Scott was a head coach.
I think Byron Scott came back. I know he came back.
Rudy Tomjanovich. If I'm not mistaken, did he? No,
he was with Houston, and then he came to the Lakers.
Okay,
he didn't go back.
He didn't go back to
Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson went back to the Lakers. He got fired, and then he came back with the Lakers.
That's right.
That happened.
All right. Well, hey, appreciate y'all stopping by. We got to wrap up a couple more super chats, and then we got to get out of here.
Salute, Chill. Good stuff, bro. Good stuff, Chill.
Hey, that was a great convo, though. Y'all about to get me
easy, fellas.
Have a good one, y'all.
Easy.
Like the beam, Box. Like the beam, man. Like the beam.
That beam ain't lit till 2024, boy.
Yeah, yo. Got them higher up in our ear. Sorry, we ran over a little bit, but we kind of got juicy. So we had to run it down. So,
well, Chilltown Ghostman 231. He wants to know: should the NBA have a salary cap like the NFL?
I don't think any of the sports leagues should have a salary cap. I think you should be able to pay whatever you want, and I think you should be able to make whatever you want. I hate this salary cap thing. I hate it because it's putting a cap on my potential earnings. No. You can't afford to pay your players. That's a you problem. That's not my problem.
That doesn't sound much like capitalism to me. Kev Wallace came with the super chat. He said, if LBJ wins a title this year, do you think he goes all out to win his 6th, or do you think he just let the chips fall where they may until he's done? That's a good question.
I just think he keeps going, and I think that this is just the icing on it. To be honest with you, I think this just adds to the legacy. The whole that he goes all out to get the 6. I mean, I think that that's something that he'd be thinking about, but I don't think so. I think he lets the chips fall where they may, 100%.
You think so, Chill?
Yeah, I do. I think he waiting on his boy. That's what I think he doing. I think he waiting on his boy more than anything. I think all this other stuff is just extra.
It's kind of to get into that. I've came a long way to what I used to think about where Bronny was. At first, I didn't think Bronny was going to be ready. I didn't think he had it. But then I saw a big leap this past summer. I do think Bronny actually does have some potential. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be like his pops, but I think he can make a good run.
I do too.
You seen me? I believe he committed to USC.
Yeah, and he need to go to school. Ox, he ain't ready. He definitely
needs
to go to school. Yes, he definitely needs to go to school.
Definitely would need to go experience that. Kev Wallace, and if Jimmy wins, where would this rank him? Oh, where would this rank among playoff runs from underdogs?
Man,
I think that would be. I mean, I don't know. I would say number one if he wins it all.
If you're talking about underdogs, yeah, it would have to go to the top of the list. I'm talking about all sports. It would have to go to the top of the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for all sports though, what do we got? What are the candidates?
If you figure, all right, in baseball, what underdog was I? Like the Florida Marlins, they were an underdog when they beat the Yankees. But they ain't have they ended up getting their squad. That Kansas City squad that won it in 2016. I mean, they had a bunch of minor league guys that they basically had throughout their system. They brought them up and they won the World Series. In football, the Giants in 2007, they were a big time underdog against a team that was 18-0 to beat them. But for Jimmy to take this team to the NBA championship and win it, I think that's insurmountable. I don't think there's nobody that's seeing that. Nobody.
Yeah, that's crazy. Here we go from Vamp. Can you talk about why star players aren't usually good head coaches? I think role players do the best since they know how to get the other guys involved.
A lot of star coaches also, they see the game different than role players, because role players, a lot of times, they either rotation players or they're not really involved in the game in terms of being on the floor as much, as opposed to a star player who plays a lot and he see the game different and he expect you to play the way he plays. So he's not nearly as patient as a role player would be. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Definitely. You know, when guys are so good at basketball and then they got to try to teach other people how to be as good as them, it's not. A lot of times it's not possible.
And expect you to be that good too. Like, why can't you do this?
Right.
What's the problem? Why can't you do this? Because I ain't as good as you. That's why.
Yeah, like, why can't you do this? I'm like, why can you do this?
How can you do this?
Right.
Think about Bo Jackson running up that wall after he caught the ball and then ran up the wall and then looking at everybody like, you can't run up a wall? No, Bo, you the only one who can do that. Can't nobody else do that but you.
Oh man, I'm only human. I'm just a man. Yeah. Right. Well, that's the last super chat that pretty much wraps up the show. Unless Chilltown, you got anything else?
Yo, this was great, man. Absolutely. This was great stuff that we had all day today. 100%. So we got it done.
Yeah,
we will be here. We in effect.
I'm gonna be thinking about that all NBA stuff all day. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy how much control the media has on the players' money. But all right, y'all. Real quick before we do leave, let me shout out our Ghost members: Comatose, Haramis, and Dorian Clayton. If you want to be a GOAT member, all you got to do is click that link down there. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. We'll see y'all on Saturday.
Take it light.